All right, welcome back for another episode of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the video and article that I do for comicbookinvest.com where I talk about those books you can still probably find tucked away in those cheap boxes, those discount bins, wherever you're finding your cheap comics, whether they be at yard sales, half-price books, flea markets, your LCS's, dollar bins, wherever. These are some of the books I think you should be digging for based off of some of the recent news, rumors, announcements, and things going on in the actual comic. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this channel. And yeah, I'm kind of tired today. We spent a long time talking with Mark Spears yesterday. It was an excellent conversation. He was a great guest. We talked for another, I think, couple of hours even after we signed off. But if you haven't seen that show, go back and check it out on the channel. And if you just want to see the books that we have today, as far as dollar digging goes, don't worry. I'm going to get right to them right after this short break with the intro. So hang on for a few seconds, all right? Alrighty, so we're just going to get right into it and start in with things related to what's going on in the comics. Now, if you, like me, open up these things and read them, you'll see there's a lot of fun stuff that we can go and connect back to and go digging for in boxes based off of some of the stories and books that came out just this week on New Comic Book Day, Wednesday. Starting off with the most recent issue of The Flash. Yes, Flash 14, part of DC's revamp, all-in, reboot, or whatever, kind of refresh for their all their titles and all their lines. Here we go with The Flash. And inside this book, they actually have an interesting callback to a character you would not associate with the Scarlet Speedster, which I found very interesting. And that character is right here, granted, in a hologram. Greetings, from Skataris. It's Warlord. You guys remember Warlord? I know you see plenty of Warlord books in those discount bins and those back issue bins and those cheap boxes, but Warlord popped up here, just granted in a little hologram, if you will, part of the story, but still, it's kind of fun to connect, Warlord with the Flash. Him right here. So again, you know who I'm talking about. It even made action figures kind of look like a knockoff He-Man a little bit back in the day. I don't know. Warlord has always been an interesting character to me. He's kind of like a mashup between He-Man, Thor, and Green Arrow when you go with like the beard. I think it's the Grell influence. You got to have that Van Dyke, I guess. But with all that said, Warlord's been around for a while. You will probably not. I'm not saying that you're going to find his first appearance at a dollar bin. I mean, you can keep an eye out for it because you never know what you might find in a cheap box or a flea market or a discount bin out there. So I'll tell you what it is just in case. But this, I know it says Warlord on the front. Wait a second. All right, there's the correct book. Sorry about that little technical difficulty, but yes, it says Warlord on the front, so it looks like it's the first issue of Warlord, but this is technically first issue special number 8. So DC back in the 70s was introducing all these characters with these first issue specials as part of a series. So this was a series of first issues, and this is actually number 8 for first issue special. And it is a DC first issue for the Warlord. He would go on to have his own ongoing series, which we can get to later, but first issue special number 8 came out in July 1976. And yes, you could find it out there. It's a few bucks. I mean, there's a lot right there that's sold with a 12, almost 12, maybe 10 to 12 issues from the first issue specials, including Warlord. And it was $10 with one bid for a bunch of issues. So you can see they are cheap. There are some copies that do sell $15 to $35, depending on condition. But you keep your eye out and you dig, and you sometimes can still find books like this for next to nothing. So that's kind of the idea. It's not like the most popular thing out there. It's not the key everybody's searching for these days. I mean, it's Warlord. I mean, how many people are talking about Warlord right now? But there are copies available if you wanted to go shop for one. Granted, most are looking for $15, $20, $28. Again, depending on condition, you can get a nice little return if you find a nice copy. But go out there digging. Maybe you get lucky and you find your first issue special number 8. Now, what I thought was kind of fun is for the first few issues of Warlord from here, and then when he started his own series, he was just a dude with white hair and his little beard and just wearing black tights, basically. Like not the classic, winged helm, almost Thor-like helmet that we've come to expect. That helmet I didn't see until we got to issue number 3 here. Oh no, wait, why do I got issue 6 here? It's not 6. This is issue 3. There we go. Second technical difficulty fixed. I told you I was tired today. I made a few missteps while putting this together. I now see what I did. I just swapped out the wrong picture for the wrong set of books earlier. But issue 3 is where I first noticed him wearing the helm here in this huge double-page spread. And that's where I saw it and said, hey, there we go. Warlord with his classic helm. Got his little goatee beard thingy sticking out there. And that's the Warlord that I know. And this ran for well over 100 issues. So this series went on for a good long while. And yeah, but this was the issue that I noticed again, him with that helmet on for the first time. Copies sold, look, $1.50, $4.20. It's a very cheap book. Most of the run is, yes, there are copies listed for $10 to $13, but you can find these things at a very, very reasonable price if you go out there hunting for them. So look for those Warlord books just for fun. As like I said, it was an odd little appearance in that Flash book for me. So I thought it was worth calling out. Up next, Brave and the Bold. So mostly a Batman title. But apart from Batman, there are little backup stories and little side stories in there. And one of the side stories in the Batman Brave and the Bold number 18 features Ms. Martian and Aquaman, or formerly known as Aqualad. So I figured, you know what? Let's take a look at those two, because I'm pretty sure we've talked about these characters before, whether it be on Forgotten First or previous Dollar Bin Digging episodes. But we are at episode 279, so I think it's been probably a good long while. So if we dip back into that pool, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of new viewers and readers out there who might not have seen the first time we talked about these characters. So let's cover them here again. I picked the cover that featured these two on the cover, but the main storyline is Batman, so you'll see mostly Batman covers, but there is this Ms. Martian and Aqualad cover out there if you are interested. Again, granted, that's the new release. That's not the one I'm telling you to find, but inside this book, you can see here, Ms. Martian, not Ms. Marvel. Have I been saying Ms. Marvel this whole time? Didn't notice. But Ms. Martian responding to an SOS, showing up here. Cool. She's been around a while. We got to go all the way back to, what is it, like 2007 for Ms. Martian, I think. Maybe 2006 in Teen Titans number 37. So that's where the 7 was coming from. So Jeff Johns' run. We had Tony Daniel on art. And yes, there was also Demon Boy in here too, or Kid Devil, I should say. But inside this book, we did get our first shot as at Ms. Martian here. So there she is, right here in the midst of, in the midst of these panels. Not a huge appearance, not a lot going on here, but that's her. There she is. So with that said, this book has been on the spec cycle before. It's been up, it's been down, it's come around a few times. Right now, copies can sell for as cheap as $3 or as high as $20, and that is for a newsstand version, because you know how people love spending extra on newsstands these days. But you can also sometimes, split the difference and see copies selling for around $10. Asking prices, however, $6, $8. That's kind of the general market for this thing of asking prices, but it's not a pricey book, and it's one you can go out there and find. Granted, yeah, the black cover could be difficult to find in high grade, but grade will factor into the price a little bit, but it's not an expensive book, however you look at it. Maybe if you find a newsstand that's in really nice shape, you can get a real nice premium on it, but other than that, it's just a fun book that you can go and dig. Also in this issue, as I mentioned, we did have Jackson Hyde showing up, who is an Aquaman. I know DC can be weird. They got multiple Flashes. They got multiple Wonder Womans and Supermans and all this stuff. It can be a little bit confusing. But hey, we'll do our best here to make sense of everything. But here he is inside the guts of this Brave and the Bold issue 18, also helping out Ms. Martian there, responding to the SOS, etc. Now, as Aquaman, here we go. So it's Jackson Hyde as Aquaman. This is more of a recent change. This was part of like that kind of reboot where they were trying to give the future states to all of these new superheroes kind of things, handing off the the baton to the newer generations, I guess. But in Aquaman the Becoming limited series, issue 5 of 6, finally inside the guts of this book, he calls himself Aquaman and becomes, I guess, the new Aquaman, but we still have the old Aquaman. So Arthur Curry. So I don't know exactly how we want to call this, but he's going by Aquaman now. So I guess we call him Aquaman. Jackson Hyde is what I'm thinking. It's the same thing with Green Lanterns. Like, how many Green Lanterns are there? There's a ton. But this book, not expensive. You can see here a lot of all 6 issues in the whole run basically sold for $12. That's $2 an issue, well below the cover price of $3.99. Asking prices mostly around that cover price, $270, $359. Hey, somebody's looking for $10 for one of the variant covers, which is open order, mind you. But hey, you can ask up to $10, but by and large, this is less than cover price. So you never know. Dig it out of a box. It's only a couple of years old. What was it, 2022? So you might be able to find one of these in a recent back issue bin that's maybe half cover or something like that. Depending, again, how your shop discounts books, where you're finding these cheap books and whatnot, you should be able to find this for a fairly decent price. Now, that is him as Aquaman. We will go back to the fact that, yes, he was previously Aqualad. Now, to get a little more convoluted here, I guess, we're going to say that I'll say that he took on the mantle of Aqualad here. It even says so right there on the cover. Gorgeous, gorgeous cover, by the way. This is David Finch, I believe. Brightest Day, number 10. Inside the guts of this book, and this is September 2010. We get a bit of backstory with his father explaining things to him, and then he finds out he has powers, and Black Man is there, etc. And we get a nice little kind of an origin of a sort for our Aqualad here. But here he is inside the guts of this book. And this one, again, doesn't go for all that much. All right, so again, with this book, we want to look at the pricing of it. It's not very expensive at all. Copies sold for as cheap as $3. There's some asking $4 out there. It's not a pricey book at all. I mean, it's pretty much around that $2.99 cover that it was all of almost 15 years ago now. But that would be, I guess, the first appearance of Aqualad, and you get a good bit of origin there, but still not the first appearance of Jackson Hyde, who is the one who becomes Aquaman, and Aqualad, who then becomes Aquaman, etc. So we're going back a little bit further now, looking at the first appearance of Jackson Hyde before he had any sort of nickname, power set, or anything. That goes back to issue 4 of this same series. Yes, there are 2 covers on this book. I'm only showing you the one. But back in June of 2010 with this Black Lantern Firestorm cover, which is pretty awesome, we get introduced to Jackson Hyde inside the guts of this book. But it's just basically Jackson Hyde. He isn't who he comes to be eventually. But it is still the first appearance of the character, so you still want to keep that in mind. All right, this book has hit the spec cycle before, but right now it's pretty far down the list. I mean, with copies selling for only $1.99 recently. And then we've got copies available that, yes, could be seeking $17 or as little as $4. Again, it was once hot. It was once a book people were searching for, but right now it's kind of forgotten about. Maybe go find one, dig one out for cheap if you can, because, why not? Speaking of why not, if you guys haven't tried Whatnot before, all you first-time users, please use my link in the body of the video down below. Use my link. Get yourselves a free $15 for signing up. $15 to spend on whatever you want with whomever you want, just to give the app a try. Try out Whatnot. Maybe you like it. Maybe you don't. First-time users, you're getting free $15 to give it a shot. So you really don't have anything to lose. You'll help out the channel. You get yourself something nice. So with that said, just think about it. That's all. Speaking of thinking about it, let's think about what we've been doing over on the Marvel side of things this week. And for Marvel this week, one of our new issues is Dazzler. Now, right there on the cover, we're seeing my man Strong Guy. He was in the first issue of this book as well. But just to kind of remind you, he seems to be hanging around as part of a series regular role, I guess, here, as he is the roadie for our Dazzler, who's kind of playing sort of a Taylor Swift type character, which is, I think, why everybody fan cast Taylor Swift in this role, because she's a pop star. She's got roadies. You got multiple man. You got Domino's ahead of security, etc. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. But point being, we're not here to talk about Dazzler. We're here to talk about this guy back here, Strong Guy, or Guido, as he was first known to many of us. But Strong Guy. Interesting history here for Strong Guy. Again, I think we've talked about his first once or twice before on various different channels and shows, etc. But going back to his first appearance in comics, you got to go all the way back to March of 1985 in New Mutants number 29. I believed he didn't even really have a name. He was just like a bodyguard. So he was there, just kind of a bodyguard for Leela Cheney, again, in a similar type of role. I mean, I think she was a pop star back then. So now he's doing a similar job for Dazzler these days. But hey, there was an evolution because this character's been around the block a few times with the X Factor crew. But here was his first. And again, I don't believe we even gave a name to him, but that's him. You could see with the familiar glasses and that funny little haircut. And that is our Guido, strong guy. This book, very, very cheap, even now. You can find it out there. $5, one sold for. It's a couple days ago. And copies available as cheap as 99 cents, $2.50, or $30 for a Mark Jewelers newsstand. Sometimes, depending on the type of book it is, you might be able to fetch yourself an extra little premium. But for the most part, this is not a very sought after book, and it's one you could probably go and dig for. So have fun digging for it. With that, I mentioned X Factor because that's where I really was introduced to him, and it wasn't really the New Mutants. I don't remember that issue way back, but I do remember the reboot of X Factor when Havoc took the team and they went to this whole government funded. It's still kind of the angle they're doing today, which I'm kind of over it because they did it already. But there he is. I don't want to say front and center. He's kind of back and center, but there's your strong guy back in the middle there. But at the time, he was still just being called Guido. So this was the first issue of this new revamped team, issue number 71. It wasn't until the next issue, issue 72, when they kind of get the team introduced to the media, and they're like, here's so-and-so, here's Havoc, here's Polaris, blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, what about this guy? Oh, every team's got to have a strong guy. And he said, yeah, that's my name, and my name's Strong Guy. So that's why he has a dumb generic sounding name, because that's what they gave him from this from this storyline, basically. And it's kind of stuck. I know, it's a silly name. It's kind of on the nose, but hey, it's better than Guido. So Strong Guy it is. First named in issue 72 of X Factor. So there he is, getting his name. Again, this is a very, very cheap book. I mean, these X Factor books, I know you see them out there when you're digging. Those mutants of the 90s, there are plenty of them out there. Look, a whole bunch of issues sold for $6. Individual copies sold for $2.18. Asking prices looking only for $1.49 or $1.79. And they will accept best offers. On $1.79, you can even make an offer less than that and probably get it accepted. Just saying, if you wanted to buy it online, but then you got to pay shipping and all that stuff. So I'm just telling you, go dig in a box. You can probably find it for $1 or so, maybe less. Yeah, just for fun. With that said, I mean, it is just the first time he says his name, so I'm not saying this is a major key or anything like that. I'm just pointing out a book that kind of ties into things that I thought was kind of fun to spotlight, that you can go and dig out of a cheap box, because it is a cheap book. So, yeah, that's just kind of the angle I'm going with here. Another new #1 this week over at Marvel was the new take on Iron Man, who, yes, once again, he loses his company. So he doesn't have control of his company once again. Great. Haven't seen this one before, but maybe they do something interesting with it. I don't know. I'll give it a try. It wasn't a terrible read. It's just, like I said, it just kind of felt, okay, that's what we're doing. Start it over again. But inside this issue, we do have a bunch of callbacks to some villains we haven't seen for a little bit. First off, Flying Tiger. Yes, Tiger Shark is there as well, but we've known Tiger Shark. Tiger Shark has been talked about. All those Namor spec and all that stuff. Tiger Shark, a little bit pricier. Flying Tiger, however, not as pricey. And this is Flying Tiger right here. He's been around for a good long while in the Marvel Universe, surprisingly, even though it sounds like a silly character. It is a silly character. And he was introduced in Spider-Woman, of all books. So Spider-Woman number 40, back in 1981, is our first introduction. He's right there on the cover, named also right there in the cover, so no confusion over his first appearance. It is Spider-Woman number 40. But he's also right inside the book, right at the start, too. We go right to the opening splash pages. Boom, there's your Flying Tiger fighting Spider-Woman. So Jessica Drew has her hands full there. Yeah, so there he is. Flying Tiger. Cool. This book, well, it's not pricey. I mean, you can see here, $9 one sold for, sure. And then there was a best offer of $3.99 a little bit before that. And then even before that, $1.99. So $2. Somebody bought one straight up. Granted, it was low grade, but still, that's the point. It can be found for cheap out there. Copies listed $6 to $11. Again, condition will play a part in the asking prices, but it's not an expensive book. It's not an expensive key. It's just kind of a fun book for you to go and dig for. So that's what I'm doing here, and that's what I think is kind of fun, and that's what makes this hobby fun. Another character brought back who I haven't seen for a bit. I know she was in the MODOK TV show, that like the claymation one. Remember the claymation one? And there was a little spec related to her first appearance with that, and that is this character right here, Dr. Rappaccini. She is one of AIM's top science heads, as she was in the MODOK show as well. But she is introduced here as part of the crew that is taking over Stark. Stark Unlimited or Stark Industries, whatever the hell they're calling it now. Her and the Roxxon Corporation, AIM and them are teaming up to take over. Cool. But Monica Rappaccini here was once known as, I think, the Black Scorpion. And she actually first appeared in Amazing Fantasy #7. So introducing an all-new, all-different Scorpion. Mentioned there. That's what we're talking about. But, oh, I'm sorry. That's the girl on the front. Sorry for the confusions. But Monica is inside here in the guts of this book as well, as just get a little rundown here, a little briefing, and then we see Monica Rappaccini. That was her first. So you could find her and find this. This again hit that cycle for a little bit for a couple of different reasons. Made it to be like a $10-15 book at one time, but right now it's nowhere near there. It's only $5. Well, what is that? $20 one sold for, so that's kind of impressive. $20, but normally they're like $5. As you can see here with available copies, $8, $15, $20. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is more of a demand for this book than I am giving it credit for. But it's something fun to dig, and it's got a pretty cool. I think it's J.G. Jones did this cover run, so I like this cover. So keep an eye out for that too. Also, in this issue, we are seeing the return of Justine Hammer here. So again, Stark, he's got his hands full here. They're throwing villain after villain on top of him, and they're setting up a lot for this Roxxon war. I think it's gonna be 6 issues or whatever, but whatever it might be, they're giving him a lot of hurdles tonight he'll have to jump over. So Justine Hammer also shows up here in this issue, and there she is right there. She is also, and revealed in this issue, the new Ironmonger. So basically steals his magic suit, because he's gotten a magic suit recently, like Magic Iron Man suit, to deal with different things. And since he didn't have his magic suit on, now he's kind of screwed and has to start over. Read the book. It makes more sense than I'm saying, how I'm explaining it. But Ironmonger did steal or take the magic suit because they're buying the company, so I guess it's theirs. But there, she is now the new Ironmonger. But she was not originally Ironmonger. She was originally the Crimson Cowl way back when. So Justine Hammer's first appearance goes back a ways. She was part of the New Masters of Evil and fighting the Thunderbolts or whatever. Issue 3 of the Thunderbolts from 1997. That's her on the cover in that Crimson Cowl, because that's who she was at the time. She was the Crimson Cowl. So inside the guts of the book too, there she is. Blah, blah, boom. Cool. Also, you would think old Thunderbolts is to be worth something, but it really isn't. Look, best offer on $1.99. They accepted less than $2. And then another one bought for $3. Asking prices $1.99, $1.99, $2.75. This is a very, very cheap book. Very, very cheap first appearance. Who knows if Justine Hammer, and yes, related to Justin Hammer, Sam Rockwell portrayed him in Iron Man movies. Don't know if we'll see in movie adaptation of Justine, but just saying, there are ties, there are connections there. Very cheap book, something you can go and dig, find it, put it in a box, save it. You never know what happens down the line. That's all I'm saying. But you know what you are going to need down the line, and that is going to be more supplies. And that's why I keep putting my ad placements in the middle of the show. You're going to need your bags, your boards, your boxes, etc. And when you do, you can use my link, but definitely use my code RENA10. Save yourself 10% off when you're ordering those supplies, those bags, boards, top loaders, boxes, whatever you need. You're going to probably be grabbing them from BCW, as I do. And might as well save yourself some money when you do so. That's all. Keeping it quick. Again, there's a link below you can use, or just use my code. Remember, RENA10. Rennavision, RENA10. 10% off. Cool. Moving on. Void Rivals, number 13. To go over to the indie side of things, let's look at Void Rivals. Yes, I'm a little biased still talking about Energon Universe stuff, because that's easier to tie into some other books than most indies are. Like a lot of indie books, what am I going to tell you? The first appearance of a character in the current run is the first issue of the series. Like, that's no fun. Here, we're talking about Void Rivals with the character shown right there on the front, Pythona. Yes, inside the guts of this book, she's in there as well, along with Globulus, who we can also talk about because they actually share their first appearance. But as far as the Energon universe goes, here we go. We're just going to throw this out there. because you could say technically it's a different version, different universe for the character. Sure, true, all true. Yes, Pythona, then her first appearance would go back to Cobra Commander 1. If that's what we're talking about here. In this current universe, she shows up in Cobra Commander 1 and throughout most of the Cobra Commander series. Cool. Now you see her connecting with Void Rivals as they build out the Energon universe. Fine. I'm not going to give you the prices on this. You can probably find a Cobra Commander 1, a later printing even, or the first printing, probably for cover price or less if you're lucky. So go ahead, find it, dig. That's all fun. But for her original first appearance in comic books, even if it's in a different timeline, universe, etc., you got to go back to 2007 with G.I. Joe versus Transformers Black Horizon Part 1. So I think this is technically the fourth volume of these two crossing over, G.I. Joe and Transformers. But here they are with a version or a cover that has Pythona on the front, along with Nemesis Enforcer, along with Unicron, as well as Globulus. So Globulus and Pythona both first appear here in this issue, not only just on this particular cover, but inside the guts of the book as well. There are multiple covers, so keep an eye out for it. And there's an incentive variant that's really, really tough to find. There's one listed right now that's looking for a crazy amount of money. It actually reminded me to put that in a future Chasing Ghosts, maybe. So we'll take a look at that some other time. But for now, inside the guts of this book, here's Pythona, along with the basic Cobra Law grunts. I forget what they were called. But anyway, there she is right here. Cool. This book actually isn't that cheap. It's kind of inconsistently priced, but it's not a dollar book. I mean, you can see copies selling. There's the Optimus cover for it, selling for $6 or so. And then I see $10 for issues 1 and 2, again, with this cover for 1, and then issue 2 is a different cover. Then asking prices, however, you'll see issues 1 and 2 together, $40, or just that Optimus cover, which is not this. And they list it as first appearance of Globulus, but it also is first Pythona. $40 on its own, or $25 for the pair again. Again, prices are kind of all over the place, but this is one, just go digging. Who knows what you might find. Just know that there are like 3 or 4 different covers for this book, but my favorite for it is the one that has them on the cover. So this is the one I'd love to find when I was digging. But with that said, we're almost done. We got one more thing to cover here, and that's something related to movies. No TV shows this week to connect to. We're not got nothing really in the Penguin that I could tie back to books, interestingly enough. So we are going to go to the movies, because coming out tomorrow is Venom: The Last Dance. Granted, some of you are probably seeing it tonight, because that's how movies work now. They really release Thursday night before. That all said, opens tomorrow everywhere. Venom: The Last Dance. Everybody had been speculating that Chiwetel Ejiofor, I always mess up his name, he was going to be playing like the judge or something like that from the Lethal Protector series, etc. But it turns out just this week we get it confirmed when people actually see the movie who he is, and he's actually Rex Strickland, which is a character I don't think anyone was guessing that he would be. He ties more in with the Null angle of things and maybe a Null future. So we'll see. But Rex Strickland is the character that he's actually playing in the movie. Here he is in the comic books. He was part of that Venom run from 2018. And again, that built up to King in Black and Null, etc. So maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe that's why they chose him. Maybe that's where we're going. I don't know. But Rex Strickland here first appears, as I said, in Venom #1 from 2018. Yeah, there are a lot of these out there. A lot of covers, multiple printings on this one as well. This is him. He basically captured Eddie Brock inside of here, and he was kind of telling him a story, sort of interrogating him, but also kind of giving him information at the same time. But yeah, that's him. And what was it? Also the first appearance of Tyrannosaurus, the symbiote name, which is the one I think that he was controlling or something. It's crazy convoluted, Black King craziness, because there was a lot going on in the books back then. But this book, you can see here, it's still pretty cheap. $3, $3.25 copies have sold for, and then asking price is $5, $7. So it's not a pricey book, but it is his first. I think it's clearly his first, so it is a book that if you can find it, it's probably worth just stashing. You never know, because I don't know what Sony's planning to do in the future. I haven't seen the movie yet. Maybe we'll see it in the upcoming weeks. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. With that all said, that's all I got for you this week. So thanks for stopping by and checking this out. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you're still enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. As I noted in the middle of the show, check out my links below for those discounts. Get yourself some free money and some money off stuff you're going to be buying anyway. go back and check the tax show from last night if you haven't seen our interview with Mark Spears. It was a hell of a good time. He's a really good dude and also makes really great art. So with that said, it was a fun conversation. Go check it out if you didn't see it yesterday. And with that all said, I will see you all soon with some more content. All right, bye.